Another thing that is a really, really simple and easy swap to make is your all-purpose cleaner. One of the first swaps I would recommend making in your home is reducing your EMF exposure wherever you can. One last swap I want to tell you about that I would recommend considering, maybe a surprising one, is your toilet paper.
In a world obsessed with convenience and quick fixes, I'm approaching wellness differently. After healing from chronic illness by overhauling my entire life, I'm now on a mission to help women like me to thrive and not just survive. I'm Kristen, and you're listening to the OrganiMama Podcast. Sometimes the thought that carpet, candles, cutting boards, and air fryers can all be super toxic keeps me up at night. You too? So instead of being consumed by anxiety about what I was bringing into my home, I spent several years figuring out what's actually low tox and what's just marketing. The result was OrganiHome, a home guide with vetted product swaps for cleaning, kitchen, bath, laundry, and more. This guide will save you literally hundreds of hours of research and money wasted on greenwashed home goods. Head to the show notes and snag OrganiHome, and podcast listeners can get 20% off with code PODCAST.
Welcome back to the OrganiMama Podcast. Today, this is a really practical episode for those of you who are wondering, okay, I want to start reducing toxins in my house, but what are the most worthwhile things for me to swap out of my home first that are going to make the biggest impact on the health of my home? I am here to answer your questions. I'm going to give you a list of some of the swaps that we've made in our home that I feel like have the biggest impact on overall health and overall toxic burden within your home. These are the things that if I was starting all over with home swaps, this is exactly what I would swap. Now, I want to preface by saying I have a guide called OrganiHome that covers literally all of this information and like 100 times more. It gives you swaps for everything in your home, all the things in your kitchen, all the things in your bedroom, in your bathroom, in your laundry room, and other types of categories as well, including outdoor things like outdoor tools, outdoor toys, grilling stuff. So it's that guide covers literally everything you could want to know about swaps in your home, including what materials to avoid and what materials to look for. So I'll go ahead and link that in the show notes. You can get 20% off with code PODCAST, so be sure to snag your copy of that. But let's start by talking through what are some of the most worthwhile swaps you can make in your home if you're wanting to lower your toxic burden and you're not really sure where to start. The very first place that I would start is stuff that is going to be touching your body and your skin, especially your laundry detergent. So a lot of people think that by using something that's unscented or maybe free and clear detergent that you are using a good option. And I hate to burst your bubble, but even unscented conventional laundry detergents or things like free and clear are full of nasty chemicals, especially this particular category of chemicals called ethoxylates. Ethoxylates are commonly used as surfactants in laundry detergent, and ethoxylates are made with ethylene oxide, and they can either contain ethylene oxide as a contaminant, or they might contain the contaminant 1,4-dioxane. Both of these are carcinogens, and that is what most people are putting on their laundry. And if you're using a scented laundry detergent that's from like your local Walmart or Amazon or wherever you get your laundry detergent from, odds are not only are you getting all of those ethoxylates in your laundry detergent, which have carcinogens in them, but you also have artificial fragrance in your laundry detergent, which is known and linked to hormone disruption, which can cause early puberty, miscarriage, problems with periods, PMS, mood swings, headaches, and so many other things, including respiratory issues in adults and children. So artificial fragrance is a huge no in my home. And I would say that anytime you can cut out a product in your home that has artificial fragrance, you are better off for it. So switching out your laundry detergent, I personally recommend and use Truly Free's unscented laundry detergent, which I will link for you in the show notes below. But I also have several other options linked in my guide OrganiHome that are non-toxic and safe options to use on your laundry at home. Going back to the topic of fragrances, you also probably would be well served by throwing out all of your air fresheners and candles and room sprays. anything that is designed to cover up bad smells or smell good is actually causing more harm to your health than helping with smells in your home. The best thing you can do for smells in your home is open your freaking windows. We call it burping your house. So literally opening up your windows to get airflow through, like a front window and a back window, so you can get some air flowing through your home at least once a day is a really, really great way to dissipate any bad smells in your home. And make sure, like, when you're cooking, to use your exhaust hood and keep your vents on when you're like using the bathroom. Just basic things like venting air out of your house. Anything you can do along those lines is going to help with smells. There are some non-toxic candles out there that are made from like coconut oil or beeswax, but usually those ones are going to be unscented. There's a few brands of scented candles that are made with really high quality essential oils, but I don't generally go for those types of candles in general, just because smells aren't like anything that smells is not usually my favorite. But if you keep scented candles or air fresheners or Febreze, any kind of stuff like that, or plugins, just do yourself a favor and toss them, because what is in them is just simply not worth risking your health or your kids' health or your pet's health. Pets can be severely impacted by artificial fragrance for their respiratory health, and there's known links between like respiratory issues in pets like dogs, cats, and birds, and artificial fragrance being used in a home. So ditch the candles. Another thing that is a really, really simple and easy swap to make that makes a massive difference, and it's kind of along the same lines, is your all-purpose cleaner. Like the cleaners you're using around your home to clean your surfaces, to clean your bathroom, to clean your kitchen, to clean your floors. I actually use one all-purpose cleaner for literally the entire house. It's called Branch Basics. It's a non-toxic cleaning concentrate that you can buy that you dilute to certain levels with water to create different types of cleaners. So like a certain amount of concentrate mixed with a certain amount of water makes an all-purpose cleaner, and then a slightly higher amount of concentrate mixed with water makes like a tile and bathroom scrub, and then a less amount of concentrate mixed with water makes like a streak-free glass and window cleaner. But we use Branch Basics to clean literally our entire home, including like mopping our floors. So some people look at the price of this product and think, wow, that's so expensive for a cleaner. But the truth is that you're only buying one product, and it actually lasts a very, very long time compared to buying 6 different types of cleaners for your home, all of which are full of toxins that you have to repeatedly buy over and over. It is actually cheaper to buy a product like Branch Basics that's not going to be harming your health and lasts a long time and can be diluted into different types of quantities in different bottles to make different types of cleaners for your entire home. So that one for me is kind of a no-brainer. I'll make sure and link that below in the show notes for you guys. Going back to the idea of things that are touching your body or that you're in close proximity with, the place that most people spend at least a third of their day is their bed. And so actually, I think that swapping out your bedding and your mattress for something that's non-toxic is one of the most worthwhile first swaps that you can make. If you can't afford a non-toxic mattress right off the bat, that's okay. But really, I would suggest swapping out your bedding as soon as you can for something that is natural fibers, that is going to be usually organic cotton, organic wool, linen. Those are the types of materials you want to focus on for your bedding and your sheets, because think about like the body heals when it's sleeping, and that's when the body is restoring and trying to get back to homeostasis, equilibrium, if you will. And if you're constantly being touched by microplastics and polyester fabric, that is going to be disrupting your body on multiple fronts, not only because polyester fabric, which is just plastic fabric, is going to be shedding microplastics on you every time you're touching it or laying on it, but also those types of fabrics are going to have off-gassing of toxic plasticizer chemicals that's going to be breathed in while you're sleeping. And the same goes for what your pillow is made of. If your pillow is made of like down alternative, it's going to be polyester stuffing. And similarly there, you have these volatile organic compounds that are off-gassing from your pillow, and you're inhaling that as you sleep for 7-8 hours a night. And that is not good for your body to heal and recover as you sleep. So focusing on choosing non-toxic fibers for your bedding, your blankets, your pillows, this is so, so important to give your body the best possible chance of healing and restoring while you you sleep. And whenever it becomes something that's in your budget, I do recommend swapping out for a non-toxic mattress that isn't going to contain something like foam or polyester core or plastic materials, which is what most conventional mattresses are made of, because not only, again, are you getting that really intense off-gassing of toxic chemicals, you're also going to have things being emitted like formaldehyde, and you're also going to have that microplastic exposure from whatever your mattress is made of. So my favorite brand for mattresses is going to be Naturepedic. It's made from all organic materials like organic cotton, organic latex, and organic wool. I'll make sure to link Naturepedic mattresses below in the show notes, but we have, I think, 5 Naturepedic mattresses in our home. We have a king in our room. We have a king in our guest bedroom. We have a full size for one of our kids. We have a twin size for another one of our kids. And then we have their crib mattress as well. So we love Naturepedic. I swear by their mattresses 100%. Best investment of all time. And we sleep on them so great. They're super comfortable. So swapping out your bedding and your mattress is a really worthwhile swap right at the beginning of kind of diving into this low-tox living world. One of the other places I would recommend swapping things out initially is in your kitchen, because you're going to spend a lot of time in your kitchen. We spend a lot of time eating and prepping food, and there's a few small swaps you can make right up front that are going to make a pretty massive impact on your toxin exposure from things in your kitchen. The first thing is going to be what you are storing your food in. So if you frequently store your food in Tupperware that is made from plastic, I would highly recommend tossing those and switching over to glass, because food that comes in contact with plastic, especially if that plastic is heated under any circumstance, there are many studies that show that plastic leach microplastics and plasticizer chemicals that are linked to a plethora of health issues into your food. So if you're putting hot food into a plastic Tupperware container, or you're reheating food in a plastic Tupperware container, that is a health concern. And so we ditched all of our plastic Tupperware several years ago for glass storage containers. A lot of them still have plastic lids, but we just make sure that hot food or even cold food in general is just not touching the lids. So we tried to minimize any contact that our cooked food has with plastic. So looking for something glass to store your food in is a really easy swap that's going to significantly lower your microplastic exposure. And then what you're cooking your food with. So a lot of people prefer nonstick cookware. Unfortunately, you may have heard this before. Your nonstick cookware is coated with something called Teflon. That's what makes it nonstick. But what Teflon is made from is a group of chemicals called PFAS, polyfluoroalkyl substances, and these are nicknamed forever chemicals because when they enter the body, they cannot be detoxed or removed from the body in the way that other things can be. So PFAS chemicals actually accumulate in your body and stay there for the duration of your lifetime, and they have some serious health impacts. In fact, there's all kinds of lawsuits happening between the government and big corporations right now about PFAS being added to water supply, PFAS being used in big factories and impacting people's health. So any way that you can reduce your exposure to these forever chemicals, the better. And the most common exposure for most people is through their nonstick cookware. So if you can swap out your cookware as you have the budget to and the capability of doing so. All of our cookware for the most part is made from 100% stainless steel. So if you can look for stainless steel cookware, that is the best. I don't really recommend ceramic coated. You're going to see a lot of brands promoting like non-toxic ceramic coated, but the problem with ceramic coated is that coating breaks down pretty quickly. And if it ever gets scratched or dented or like marked up at all, you're going to be exposed to the metals that are being used underneath that ceramic coating, which can be toxic. And so ceramic coating technically is a pretty safe option initially, but as soon as they start showing signs of wear or getting scratched, there's toxins underneath that coating that's going to be leaching into your food, which is why I recommend investing in something that's going to last you a lifetime that is non-toxic. So those options are going to be, like I said, 100% stainless steel or something like cast iron. And there are a couple brands out there that make 100% ceramic cookware. So it's not just ceramic coated, it's actually ceramic all the way through. And that's going to be a really safe option as well. Cooking on stainless steel, skill takes a little bit of practice to nail the kind of non-stick effect, but we've been using stainless steel in our family for several years, and I can now say that with confidence, I am able to cook eggs without ever getting them to stick by preheating the skillet properly. It's a whole skill, but you can totally learn it. There's a million places on Google that explain how to do that.
Can we just talk about the fact that clothes, literal clothes, can be super toxic? Because I did not sign up to worry about that when buying pajamas. But after learning about how many dyes, finishes, and chemicals are used in conventional clothing, I knew I needed better options for my family without spending hours researching brands. So I made OrganiWare for you guys. It's my low-tox fashion guide with vetted clothing brands for women, men, kids, and babies, so you can shop confidently without the toxic overwhelm. If you want safer clothes without falling down an internet rabbit hole, check the show notes and grab OrganiWare. And podcast listeners can get 20% off with code PODCAST.
The other thing I would swap out in your kitchen as soon as you can is your water filter system. If you're not currently filtering your water, this is really, really important. You need to be filtering your water because tap water is filled with all kinds of nasty contaminants like PFAS that I was just mentioning before. It can also have bacteria. It can have lots of heavy metals like fluoride and mercury and arsenic. It's also going to have, sometimes there's going to be viruses in your water. Tap water has been tested to find pharmaceuticals in tap water, including birth control and abortion pills that have been flushed down by other people in the public, and that can end up in your drinking water. So filtering your tap water for drinking is so important, and I recommend choosing a filtration system that is going to be removing as many contaminants as possible. Reverse osmosis water filtration systems are actually a pretty good choice for the most part, but the main setback to RO systems is that they also remove the minerals from water that you want to be consuming, like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. So if you're using a system that filters out minerals, it's very important to be remineralizing your water with things like trace minerals, or Buoy electrolytes is one brand that I really like. But we have actually installed a water filter in our home from a brand called PureEffect. I'll link it below for you guys in the show notes, but PureEffect filters as much as reverse osmosis and actually even more than reverse osmosis, but leaves in the minerals. So we don't have to worry quite as much about remineralizing our water because the sodium, calcium, potassium, and magnesium are left in the water, and it doesn't get removed in the same way that reverse osmosis does. So I'll link that again for you guys below in the show notes. That's our favorite water filtration system, but there are other good options out there, including some like pitcher systems if you can't install like a whole system underneath your kitchen sink or whatever. If you're in a rental or you just don't have the budget, AquaTrue is a good RO system that has like a pitcher option that I would also recommend. You just want to make sure you're adding minerals back into your water. Earlier, I mentioned things like candles and air fresheners and how those can impact air quality and negatively impact your health. But I think it is also important to think about just air quality in your home in general. Indoor air quality can actually be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air, which kind of blows my mind. But if you think about all the things in our home that are off-gassing and releasing chemicals, and then also like our bodies that are shedding skin cells and our breath and what our shoes are tracking in, and like literally every piece of furniture you have in your home that's like off-gassing formaldehyde and VOCs and microplastics, it is really important to be filtering your indoor air. So choosing air filters, air purifiers that are highly rated. I really prefer air filters that have a carbon pre-filter and then have a HEPA rated filter on the inside. My favorite brand is Air Doctor. I have a link that will get you $300 or more off those units. I'll put that in the show notes. Air Doctor is our fave for a variety of reasons. We have many units around our home, but you really want to be filtering your indoor air, because if you're not filtering your indoor air, your lungs are going to be filtering your indoor air and holding on to all of those toxins. So Air Doctor, for example, it's going to be filtering out dust, pollen, dander, VOCs, mold, mycotoxins, and also 99.97% of the COVID and flu viruses. So it's really helpful to have a good air filtration system going inside your home. And I also like Air Doctor's units because you can choose the classic units, which don't connect to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, because Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connections can expose you to a pretty high amount of EMF, electromagnetic radiation, which can also impact your health significantly. And that's another thing I want to touch on as well. Another easy or one of the first swaps I would recommend making in your home is reducing your EMF exposure wherever you can. In my current house, we actually don't have Wi-Fi at all. Now, not everybody can easily do this, and I recognize that. And I'm not saying you need to just like go throw your Wi-Fi router out the window, but there are ways that you can reduce your amount of EMF exposure, and there's a lot of interesting studies out there about how EMF radiation, which is non-ionizing radiation, can impact the human body. And because this is a relatively new concept, a lot of this research is still emerging. But one place that you can go check out some very interesting facts about EMF exposure is bioinitiative.org. And I also have an episode from earlier in the OrganiMama podcast called Toxins in Your Electronics. If you're going to go back and listen to that episode, we talk about EMF for almost the entire episode. And it's really, really informative and interesting, especially if you're into all of the studies and stuff. But I work very hard to reduce EMF exposure at home wherever I can, which includes not having smart tech. So we got rid of things like our Amazon Alexa. We got rid of like our smart plugs that would like auto turn off or turn on things that were plugged into the wall because they were synced up to our Wi-Fi. If you have a Wi-Fi router, I really recommend turning it off at night while you're sleeping so that your body can get a break from all of that radiation. And try to keep your Wi-Fi router at least 30 feet away from where you're doing your daily life in the day. So however, as far away as you can keep it from where you're hanging out or being during the day, the better, because we know from studies, the closer you are to things like a Wi-Fi router, the stronger amount of EMF radiation is coming off of that source. Another really easy thing you can do to help reduce your EMF exposure is keeping your phone on airplane mode whenever possible and turning off extra signals that you don't actively need. So if you're not actively using Wi-Fi on your computer or your phone, turn those settings off. If you're not actively using Bluetooth on your phone or computer, turn those off. And Bluetooth is also a pretty common source of high EMF exposure. So if you're using things like AirPods to listen to music, I would recommend considering swapping out for wired headphones, because wired is going to be putting off a lot less EMF than something like wireless Bluetooth headphones. So we've gotten rid of pretty much all Wi-Fi or Bluetooth containing technology. So we don't have like smart washers or dryers, smart appliances, smart air filters, smart anything pretty much for the most part, except for our phones. We have gotten rid of or disabled the internet connectivity or the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth connectivity on those electronic devices. So like if you're thinking about buying a new fridge, just like don't choose the smart fridge, choose like the dumb fridge, because your fridge doesn't need to be smart, it just needs to be cold. But thinking through all of that is pretty important for your overall home health. And like I said, I do dive into this whole EMF topic a lot more deeply inside my guide, OrganiHome, so be sure to check that out. One last swap I want to tell you about that I would recommend considering that is maybe a surprising one is your toilet paper. So I mentioned earlier about forever chemicals, PFAS, that can be found in nonstick cookware, but another really common place that you're going to find these PFAS chemicals is in your toilet paper that you're putting on your butt multiple times a day, okay? So these forever chemicals are soaking up into your booty hole and you're getting all that nasty stuff in there that can't be like removed from the body. Is that really what you want? I didn't think so. So there is actually PFAS-free toilet paper out there that is made from bamboo. And that is what I really recommend. We use a brand called Kaboo, but there's other brands out there that aren't using toxic bleach and they're not adding toxic PFAS chemicals. And it's actually made of bamboo instead of like regular tree fibers. So switching out your toilet paper might seem kind of silly, but it's actually a really, really easy way to reduce your family's exposure to chlorine, bleach, and PFAS chemicals on your private areas, because you don't want that, girl. No, you don't. Those are the swaps that I would make first if I was starting over with a lower tox home. And while they may seem daunting, just swapping out one thing at a time is actually going to decrease your family's toxic burden and your home's toxic load significantly. And anytime you can make one swap, you are making a step in the right direction. So when you hear all of this, it's easy to start thinking like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I need to swap out. And she said this is just the beginning of the swaps. You're not wrong. This is just the beginning of the swaps, and I have hundreds more that I would recommend, but this is where I would suggest starting. But I don't think you need to just overhaul everything overnight and throw out everything you have and just spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on swaps. I think it's important to choose one thing and swap it when you can, when it makes financial sense, and then move on to the next thing, one thing at a time, especially when you run out of something or you need to buy something new. Think to yourself, okay, I need to replace this thing, or I need to get a new version of this thing. Can I choose a more non-toxic version than the one I was using before? And that's a really, really great kind of litmus test for helping yourself figure out like, what am I capable of swapping right now? Is what thing do I need to buy or replace right now? And instead of buying the thing I've always bought before, how can I choose a more non-toxic version? And if that is where you find yourself today of like, I'm in that place and I want to start swapping things out, you need to grab a copy of OrganiHome because it covers all of that for you. And it will walk you through exactly what materials that you should be avoiding in your home goods and what things to look for. And then it also has tons and tons and tons of recommended brands for all of these categories. So I know I sound like a broken record, but go grab a copy of OrganiHome. It's 20% off with code podcast for you guys, linked below in the show notes. And then I've linked all of the other things that I've suggested below in the show notes for you as well that you can shop and check out for yourself. But those are the things I would swap if I was starting today with a non-toxic home. And I believe in you and I know you can do it, and I'm here to support you. So that's all for today, and I will catch you on the next episode of the OrganiMama Podcast.
Hey friend, thanks for listening to today's episode of the OrganiMama Podcast. If you're looking for more ways to dive deeper into low-tox living, I want to tell you about my Organi Guides. In 2024, I wrote a series of digital guides that walks you through exactly how to rid your home of toxic possessions and chemicals, from kitchen equipment to bedding to paint to baby toys to your clothes and accessories. You'll learn exactly what materials and ingredients to avoid, what materials and ingredients are safe, and which brands and products I recommend as good, healthy options for your family. Listeners of the OrganiMama Podcast can get 20% off any of my Organi Guides using code PODCAST, and I've linked all the guides in the show notes for you below. As always, do your best and let go of the rest. Bye for now.